The massive halls of the Galactic Council chamber stretched up into darkness, making the human delegation feel even smaller than they already were. Ambassador Thomas Reed stood straight and proud, despite being dwarfed by the towering alien representatives who sat in rising tiers around him. The chamber's bioluminescent walls cast a soft blue glow across the scene, highlighting the differences between the species present. You expect us to believe that your species is ready for galactic membership. Elder Marcus's voice boomed through the chamber. The tall, silver-skinned alien leaned forward, his four eyes narrowing as he studied the human delegation. Your ships are barely larger than our personal transport vessels. Reed maintained his diplomatic composure, though his jaw tightened slightly. Size isn't everything, Elder Marcus. Our ships are designed for efficiency and efficiency. Another council member, Representative Bolt, interrupted with a sound that might have been a laugh. His crystalline form sparkled as he moved. We've seen your fleet specifications. Your largest vessel is only 300 meters long. The smallest warfare-capable ship in our records is at least 3 times that size. The human ambassador took a deep breath. He had expected some resistance, but the outright dismissal was frustrating. If you would allow us to demonstrate our capabilities. There is nothing to demonstrate, Elder Marcus declared, waving one of his long-fingered hands dismissively. We have been spacefaring for 50,000 years. We know what works and what doesn't. Your tiny fleet would not survive a single engagement with even the weakest of space pirates. In the observation gallery above, Captain Linda West of the Earth ship Thunder watched the proceedings with growing anger. She had commanded one of these tiny ships for 5 years, and she knew exactly what they could do. But the Council didn't want to listen. Our technological approach is different. Reed tried again. We've developed systems that different. Elder Marcus stood up, his full 4-meter height now apparent. Let me show you something, Ambassador Reed. Display. The air in the center of the chamber filled with holographic images of various alien warships. Each was massive, at least 1 kilometer long, bristling with visible weapon ports and armor. These are proper warships, Marcus declared. See how they demonstrate their power. Their presence alone deters aggression. Your vessels. He pressed another button, and an image of Earth's most advanced ship, the Thunder, appeared next to the others. It looked like a toy in comparison. This is not a warship. This is barely a shuttle. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Some representatives were not even trying to hide their amusement. Ambassador Reed felt his face growing hot, but years of diplomatic training kept his voice steady. We understand our approach is unconventional, but unconventional. Representative Bolt cut in again. It's primitive. Look at your power readings. They're so low our sensors barely register them. What the Council didn't know, what humanity had carefully kept hidden, was that Earth's ships use technology that alien sensors couldn't properly detect. Their power readings were low because humans had mastered energy efficiency in ways the older races had never considered necessary. The Council has made its decision, Elder Marcus announced. Humanity is not ready for membership in the galactic community. Return in a few centuries when you've developed proper spacefaring capabilities. Perhaps then you'll have ships worthy of consideration. Reed looked around the chamber, seeing nothing but dismissal and condescension in the alien faces. Even the few representatives who had remained silent were clearly not going to speak in Earth's favor. We understand, Reed said finally, his tone carefully neutral. Earth thanks you for your consideration. As the human delegation left the chamber, Captain West fell in beside Ambassador Reed. They don't understand what they're doing, she whispered. Reed nodded slightly. No, they don't. And someday that's going to be a very important lesson for them. The delegation's footsteps echoed through the vast halls as they headed back to their tiny ship. Behind them, the Council had already moved on to other matters, having dismissed humanity as just another primitive species that needed time to grow up. They would learn their mistakes soon enough. Humanity had a way of surprising those who underestimated them. and their ships were far more than they appeared to be. 3 years after the Galactic Council's dismissal of Earth, the crew of Maxwell Colony watched their sensors with growing concern. The mining outpost, located in the asteroid belt of the Terra Nova system, was experiencing its third raid this month. "More ships coming out of jump space," reported Tim Rogers, the colony's chief of security. His fingers flew across the holographic display as he tracked the incoming vessels. "I count 15 pirate ships from the Drift Kingdoms, bigger than last time." Colony Administrator Mark Wilson gripped the edge of his desk. "Send another distress call to the Council. Make it clear that we're under attack." Minutes later, the Council's response appeared on their screens. "Natural selection process. Primitive species must learn to defend themselves or perish. No intervention authorized." Wilson's face turned red with anger. "They're watching our people die and calling it natural selection." In Earth's Military Command Center in Geneva, Admiral Jane Walker reviewed the latest attack reports. The sleek underground facility hummed with activity as officers monitored situations across human space. A large holographic display showed red dots representing pirate attacks spreading across Earth's colonies. "The pirates think we're easy targets," Walker said, her gray eyes fixed on the display. "The Council's dismissal of our fleet has made them bold." She turned to face the gathered military leadership. "I propose we show them exactly how wrong they are." General Peters leaned forward. "Operation Surprise Party." Walker nodded. "We've hidden our true capabilities long enough. The pirates have given us the perfect opportunity to demonstrate why size isn't everything." The room fell silent as Walker brought up detailed plans on the main screen. "We'll deploy the 4th Fleet to Terra Nova. 50 ships, all of them our smallest class. Let the pirates think we're sending our weakest forces. The Council's observers will be watching," Admiral Chen pointed out. "This will reveal capabilities we've kept hidden." "Good," Walker replied. "It's time they learned why humans build ships the way we do. Better they find out now, before someone starts a real war." Meanwhile, in the Drift Kingdom's command ship, Captain Draz watched recordings of previous raids on human colonies. His massive vessel, 3 kilometers long, dwarfed the asteroid it was hiding behind. "Such primitive defenses," he rumbled, his scaled skin glinting in the ship's lights. "The Council was right about them. Their colonies are barely protected, and their ships," he laughed, a sound like grinding rocks. "Their ships are smaller than our escape pods." His second-in-command, Officer Krull, brought up new sensor data. "The humans are finally responding. They're sending something called their 4th Fleet to Terra Nova." "How many ships?" 50 small vessels, very small. Sensor readings suggest minimal power outputs." Draz's laugh grew louder. 50. We have over 200 ships in this sector alone. And they send 50 tiny vessels." He stood, his full 3-meter height impressive even among his own kind. "Send word to all crews. We will teach these humans their place in the galaxy." Back on the Thunder, now part of the 4th Fleet, Captain Linda West prepared her crew for deployment. The ship's compact bridge buzzed with controlled energy as officers ran final checks on systems that no alien had ever properly scanned. "All ships report ready, Captain," her first officer reported. "Neural interface systems are synchronized across the fleet." West nodded, allowing herself a small smile. "Send word to Admiral Walker. The 4th Fleet is ready to demonstrate humanity's approach to space warfare." The 50 human ships moved into formation, each one barely visible against the backdrop of space. To any observer, they looked hopelessly outmatched. But appearances, as the pirates were about to learn, could be deceiving. In her office on Earth, Admiral Walker received the fleet's ready signal. She took a moment to study the tactical display, watching the pirate fleet grow more concentrated around Terra Nova. They were gathering for what they thought would be an easy victory. "Time to show the galaxy why humanity builds small ships," she said quietly, and sent the attack order. The 4th Fleet jumped into action, their tiny size hiding technologies that would soon change the galaxy's understanding of warfare forever. The space around Maxwell Colony lit up as 200 massive pirate ships emerged from jump points. Their huge forms blocked out the stars, casting shadows over the mining outpost below. Captain Draz stood on his bridge, watching the human fleet's approach with amusement. "Look at them," he said, pointing at the tactical display. "Their ships are so small they barely show up on our screens." His crew laughed, their confidence growing as they compared the size of their vessels to the approaching human fleet. Admiral Walker's voice came through clear on all human ships. "Remember your training. Formation Delta. Show them what small ships can do." The 50 human vessels moved with perfect precision, spreading out in what looked like a standard defensive pattern. The pirates' massive ships began to move forward, their weapon ports opening like hungry mouths. "Should we even waste our heavy weapons on them?" Officer Krell asked, watching the tiny human ships. "Our point defense systems might be enough." Draz nodded with a smirk. "Fire a warning volley. Let's see how they—" His words cut off as his tactical officer shouted in alarm. The human ships had suddenly accelerated to impossible speeds. Their formation split apart, each vessel moving in ways that violated everything the pirates knew about space combat. The tiny ships spun, rolled, and changed direction instantly, without the gradual turns that larger ships required. "How are they moving like that?" Draz demanded, his amusement turning to confusion. Nothing that size should have that kind of maneuverability. On the Thunder, Captain West's hands flew across her neural interface controls. Her ship responded like it was part of her own body, diving between two massive pirate vessels. "Target their engine cores," she ordered. "Show them why we build small." The first surprise of the battle became clear. The human ship's small size made them nearly impossible to hit. The pirates' weapons were designed to track large, slow-moving targets. Against the lightning-fast human vessels, they might as well have been trying to shoot at dust particles. "We can't lock onto them," Krell shouted as another human ship zipped past their bow, moving so fast it was just a blur. "Their size. It's not a weakness, it's an advantage." Draz slammed his fist on his command chair. "Impossible. No species builds ships that small for combat. It goes against all military doctrine." The second surprise came moments later. A human ship no longer than 300 meters pulled up alongside a pirate vessel 20 times its size. A beam of energy, far more focused than anything the pirates had seen before, shot out from the tiny craft. It cut through the larger ship's shields like they weren't there. "How?" Krell stared at his readings in disbelief. "Their power output. It's off the charts. But our initial scans, they hid their true capabilities." Draz realized, too late, the small size. It's not about lack of technology. It's about concentration of power. The battle transformed into chaos, but only for the pirates. The human ships moved in perfect coordination, their small size allowing them to execute maneuvers that would tear larger ships apart. Where pirate vessels needed kilometers to turn, human ships spun in place. Where pirate weapons spread out over large areas, human weapons were precise and devastating. Inside her ship, Captain West felt the neural interface humming as it connected her to both her vessel and the rest of the fleet. Every human ship moved as part of a single organism, their actions coordinated down to the millisecond. "Their first wave is in disarray," West reported to Admiral Walker. "Moving to Phase 2. The pirates watched in horror as their massive ships, once thought invincible, were systematically taken apart by vessels they had laughed at moments before. The human ships struck like hornets, their weapons cutting through shields and armor with surgical precision. "Retreat," Draz finally ordered, his pride shattered. "All ships, jump out. Now." But retreat wasn't as easy as they hoped. The human vessels were too fast, too agile. By the time the remaining pirate ships managed to escape, nearly half their first wave lay dead in space, defeated by ships they had dismissed as toys. In the aftermath, Captain West looked out at the debris field that had once been the pride of the pirate fleet. "Send word to the Galactic Council," she transmitted to Earth Command. "Tell them this was just a demonstration. A small one." The message was clear. Humanity's tiny fleet was far more than anyone had imagined, and they were just getting started. Captain Draz paced on his new command ship, his scales dark with rage. The remains of his first attack force still drifted in space near Maxwell Colony, a reminder of his humiliation. But now he had reinforcements. 300 more ships had joined his fleet, bringing their total to 500 vessels. "The humans caught us by surprise before," he growled to his assembled commanders. "But now we know their tricks. Their ships are fast, yes, but we have numbers. No fleet can dodge forever." On the Thunder, Captain West watched the massive pirate armada gathering. Her small fleet of 50 ships looked like a handful of dust motes against the backdrop of the enormous enemy vessels. "They're forming a wall formation," her tactical officer reported. 5 layers deep, no gaps larger than 200 meters between ships. West smiled. "They think they've figured us out. Admiral Walker, should we show them our second surprise?" "Agreed." Walker's voice came through the neural link. "All ships, power up the new weapons. Let's show them why we build compact reactors." The pirate fleet launched their attack. Thousands of energy beams and projectiles filling space. This time, they weren't trying to target individual human ships. They were simply filling space with so much firepower that nothing could survive. At least, that was the plan. The human ships suddenly lit up with a strange blue glow. Energy readings that had been carefully hidden before suddenly spiked to impossible levels. Each tiny human ship was now producing more power than 3 of the pirates' largest vessels combined. "What are those readings?" Draz's new science officer stared at his instruments in disbelief. "That's impossible. Ships that size can't contain that much power." On her bridge, West placed her hand on the neural interface panel. "Unlike the pirates, we don't waste space on grand corridors and throne rooms," she muttered. "Every cubic centimeter of our ship serves a purpose." The human fleet's response came in the form of weapons the pirates had never seen before. Beams of concentrated energy, far more powerful than should have been possible from such small sources, lanced out from the human ships. Where traditional energy weapons dispersed over distance, these stayed focused, their power actually seeming to increase the further they traveled. "How?" Draz bellowed as he watched 3 of his largest ships split in half, cut through like paper. "Their weapons shouldn't be this strong." The answer became clear as the battle progressed. While alien ships were largely hollow, filled with vast chambers and spaces between systems, human vessels were compact. Every system was pressed against the next, every power conduit optimized, every weapon designed to channel energy in ways the older races had never considered. "They're not primitive," Draz's science officer realized, his voice shaking. "They're so far ahead of us that we mistook their efficiency for weakness." The human fleet moved like a swarm of deadly insects, their enhanced weapons slicing through the pirate armada. Where the pirates had expected the small ship's power to be depleted quickly, the human vessels kept fighting at full strength, their compact reactors providing seemingly endless energy. "Cut off their retreat routes," West ordered her fleet. "Show them the full capability of our targeting systems." The human ships demonstrated another advantage. Their weapons could fire in any direction without turning the entire vessel. The pirates watched in horror as these tiny ships fired forward, backward, and sideways simultaneously, their compact design allowing for weapon placements that would be impossible on larger vessels. "We underestimated them," Draz whispered as another wave of his ships fell to the human weapons. "The Council, they were wrong about everything." In the wreckage of what had been the pride of the Drift Kingdom's fleet, the human ships regrouped, their blue glow dimming but not fading entirely. They had lost only 3 vessels, while more than 100 pirate ships lay destroyed or crippled. "Send word to your leaders," West transmitted on an open channel to the remaining pirate ships. Humanity's tiny fleet is more than capable of defending itself. This was just a demonstration of our standard weapons. We haven't even shown you our advanced systems yet." The message was clear. The galaxy had drastically underestimated humanity's technological capabilities. Their small ships weren't a sign of weakness, but of an advancement so profound that the older races had failed to even recognize it. And they weren't done revealing their surprises yet. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. The same representatives who had laughed at humanity's tiny fleet 3 years ago now watched recordings of the battle with shocked silence. Elder Marcus stood at the center, his silver skin notably paler than usual. "This must be some kind of trick," he declared, though his voice lacked its usual confidence. "No ships that small could defeat a fleet of that size." Representative Bolt's crystalline form flickered with agitation. "The data is clear, Elder. The human fleet destroyed over 100 Drift Kingdom vessels, while losing only 3 of their own ships. And they did it with technology we can barely understand." The recordings played again on the massive screens. Tiny human ships danced between the massive pirate vessels, their weapons cutting through shields and armor that should have been impenetrable. "Look at their coordination," one of the younger council members pointed out. "It's not just their weapons and speed. They move like they share one mind." As if answering this observation, a new transmission arrived from Earth. Admiral Walker's face appeared on the main screen, her expression calm but firm. "Honorable Council," she began, "since you seem interested in our military capabilities, we thought we should explain something you missed in your initial assessment. Would you like to see why our ships move with such precision?" Without waiting for an answer, she sent new data to the Council's systems. The display showed the interior of a human bridge, where officers sat with their hands on glowing panels. "Neural interface technology," Walker explained. "Every crew member is connected not just to their own ship, but to the entire fleet. We think, move, and fight as one." Elder Marcus sank into his chair. "Impossible. Neural technology of that level would require processing power beyond anything you've achieved." Walker finished for him. "Yes. You see, when you dismissed our small ships, you failed to understand something fundamental about humanity. We don't build big because we don't need to. Our computers, our weapons, our systems, they're all designed to be as compact and efficient as possible." The Council watched as new footage played, showing human ships executing maneuvers that should have torn them apart. Their movements were so perfectly synchronized that it looked like a dance rather than a battle. "We could have built large ships," Walker continued, "but why waste space? Every cubic meter of our vessels is packed with technology that your sensors couldn't even detect. You thought we were primitive because you were looking for size, not sophistication." Representative Bolt moved forward. "These neural interfaces, they allow your entire fleet to act as one. One mind, one purpose, instant reactions," Walker confirmed. "No lag time, no delayed orders, no confusion in the heat of battle. Each ship knows exactly what every other ship is doing and thinking." The council members looked at each other nervously. If what they were seeing was true, humanity wasn't just advanced. They were operating on a level that made most galactic technology look obsolete. "And you hid this capability?" Elder Marcus asked. "When you came to us 3 years ago." Walker's expression remained neutral. "We tried to explain. You chose not to listen. Now we have a request. Tell the Drift Kingdoms to cease their attacks on our colonies, or we will be forced to demonstrate even more of our capabilities." The threat hung in the air. The Council had already seen human ships tear through the largest pirate fleet in the sector. The thought of what other technologies they might be hiding was terrifying. "There will be those who say we should have destroyed you when we had the chance," one of the council members said quietly. Walker's smile was cold. "You never had the chance. Our ships aren't small because we're primitive. They're small because we're advanced enough not to need the grand displays of size that less efficient species rely on." As the transmission ended, the council chamber remained silent. The representatives who had once mocked humanity's fleet now faced an uncomfortable truth. They had mistaken sophistication for simplicity, and efficiency for weakness. And somewhere out in space, humanity's tiny fleet waited, ready to reveal even more surprises to anyone who made the same mistake. The Drift Kingdoms had finally had enough. Their entire fleet, 2,000 massive warships, dropped out of jump space around Earth's solar system. Each ship was at least a kilometer long, their combined bulk blocking out entire star fields. Admiral Walker stood in Earth's main defense command center, watching the incoming armada with calm eyes. "They're angry," she said to her assembled officers. "Angry enough to risk everything on one final attack." The massive alien fleet moved forward like a wall of metal, led by the new Supreme Commander of the Drift Kingdoms himself. His voice boomed across all channels. "Your tricks end today, humans. No fleet can stand against this much firepower." Walker's response was simple: launch all ships. 300 human vessels rose from hidden bases on Earth, the Moon, and Mars. To the alien fleet, they looked absurdly small, like insects rising to challenge dragons. The Supreme Commander actually laughed when he saw them. "This is your full fleet," he mocked. 300 tiny ships against 2,000 of ours. "Even with your advanced weapons, you cannot win." Walker smiled. "Actually, it's time to show you our final surprise. Deploy the combat AIs." Suddenly, every human ship lit up with new energy signatures. Inside each vessel, artificial intelligences awakened, linking with the human crews through their neural interfaces. It wasn't just humans coordinating anymore. Now they had AI partners, each capable of making millions of calculations per second. "What's happening?" the Supreme Commander demanded as the human ships began moving in ways that defied physics itself. "No organic pilot cold." "We're not just organic pilots." Captain West's voice cut through his transmission. The thunder moved like liquid metal, twisting through space in impossible patterns. "Each of our ships has an AI core working in perfect harmony with its human crew. We don't just think as one fleet. We think faster than organic minds ever could." The battle that followed would be talked about for centuries. Human ships danced through space, their movements guided by both human intuition and machine precision. Their weapons fired with perfect accuracy, hitting weak points that only AI systems could calculate in real time. "Impossible." The Supreme Commander roared as his ships tried and failed to land a single hit on the human vessels. No species trusts artificial intelligence in combat. "The risks." "The risks were solved decades ago," Walker transmitted back. "While you were building bigger ships, we were building smarter ones. Our eyes aren't just tools, they're partners, linked to both our ships and our minds." The human fleet split into smaller groups, each moving with impossible coordination. Where the alien ships had to communicate through conventional channels, the human A-teams shared information at the speed of thought. Every movement was predicted, every response calculated, every weak point identified and exploited. The Drift Kingdom ships fell one after another, their massive size working against them. They couldn't turn fast enough to track the human vessels. Their weapons, designed to destroy large targets, couldn't lock onto the small, swift ships that struck from every angle. "Their ship designs make sense now," one of the alien officers realized too late. "They're not just warships. They're neural-linked AI combat platforms. Every system optimized for speed and precision. No wasted space, no unnecessary mass." The battle lasted less than an hour. By the end, half of the Drift Kingdom fleet was destroyed, and the other half was trying desperately to retreat. The human ships, guided by their AI partners, had lost only 20 vessels. "This is humanity's final warning," Walker transmitted to the retreating aliens. "We built small ships because they're more efficient. We hid our true capabilities because we wanted peace. But if forced to fight, we will use every advantage we have." The Supreme Commander, watching his mighty fleet flee from ships he had mocked as toys, finally understood. Humanity hadn't built tiny ships because they were primitive. They had built them that way because they were so far advanced that size no longer mattered. As the last alien ships jumped away, Earth's fleet regrouped, their AI systems still humming with power. They had revealed their final and greatest advantage, the perfect fusion of human intuition, artificial intelligence, and technological efficiency. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity's tiny fleet again. The Galactic Council chamber felt different now. Where once towering aliens had looked down at human representatives with contempt, now they sat at an equal level. A new circular table had been installed, symbolizing the change in relationships. Elder Marcus, who had once mocked humanity's fleet, stood to address the gathering. 3 years ago, we made a grave mistake. We judged an entire species based on the size of their ships. Today, we formally apologize for that error. Ambassador Reed sat calmly at the table, Captain West and Admiral Walker beside him. The same tiny ships that had been laughed at now patrolled outside the council station, respected and even feared by the same races that had dismissed them. The humans, Marcus continued, his voice heavy with humility, have shown us that true advancement isn't measured in size. While we built larger and larger ships, they focused on efficiency. While we wasted space on grand chambers and extensive corridors, they packed their vessels with technologies we're only beginning to understand. The chamber's displays showed images from the recent battles. Tiny human ships dancing through space, their AI-enhanced crews operating with impossible precision, their compact weapons delivering power that should have needed ships 10 times their size. Humanity is hereby granted full membership in the Galactic Council, Marcus announced. More than that, we request their guidance in advancing our own technology. Reed smiled slightly. We accept both offers, and we're prepared to share some of our advancements, within reason. Representative Bolt leaned forward, his crystalline form catching the light. Your neural interface technology alone could revolutionize space travel, and your AI integration systems are the result of centuries of careful development. Walker cut in smoothly. We'll help you understand the basics, but some technologies need to be earned, not given. The other council members nodded in understanding. They had learned their lesson about underestimating humanity. There's just one thing I still don't understand. A new council member spoke up. Why did you hide your true capabilities when you first contacted us? Why let us believe you were primitive? West exchanged glances with Walker before answering. Humanity learned long ago that being underestimated can be an advantage. We came in peace, hoping to join the galactic community as equals. When you rejected us, we simply waited for an opportunity to prove ourselves. And the Drift Kingdoms provided that opportunity, Marcus mused. They attacked your colonies believing they faced primitive defenses. And learned the hard way that size isn't everything. Walker finished. Our ships are small because they don't need to be large. Every system is optimized, every cubic meter utilized. We achieved more with less because we had to. Earth isn't as resource-rich as some of your worlds. We learned efficiency out of necessity. The council chambers hummed with conversation as representatives discussed the implications. Humanity hadn't just matched galactic technology. They had surpassed it in many ways. Their small ships represented not weakness, but a completely different approach to space travel and combat. The galaxy is changing, Reed addressed the council. The age of massive ships designed to intimidate through size alone is ending. Efficiency, precision, and intelligence are the future. As if to emphasize his point, a hologram appeared showing the latest human vessel. It was smaller than ever, but the energy readings it produced made several council members gasp. We're still building smaller ships, Walker said with a slight smile. But now you understand why. Sometimes the smallest package contains the greatest power. The council session ended with the signing of new treaties. Humanity would help guide the galaxy into a new era of technological development. The Drift Kingdoms, humbled by their defeat, had already requested human assistance in redesigning their fleet. Outside the station, Earth's tiny fleet continued their patrol. Their small size no longer drew mockery, only respect and a hint of fear. They stood as a reminder to the galaxy. Never judge by appearance alone, for the smallest ships might hold the greatest surprises. The era of human innovation had begun, and it started with a fleet that was mocked for being too small.